All right, so we're back with another podcast. This might just be like a separate channel that I'm going to need to make. I have a different one called Donkeys at Halftime. That was with my old flatmate Ale. Fortunately, I'm kind of moved back into Romania now for just a couple of months while I'm trying to kind of carve my way into becoming a football scout. So for now, it's going to be a solo thing. I mean, I might actually link up with Ale over Discord or whatever and try and do a podcast that way. But for now, it's going to be mostly this. So what we have so far is it was a big weekend of games. Now we're just heading into international break. So for 2 weeks, we're not going to have much. We have Chelsea beat Fulham also the deadline day. A bunch of stuff happened. Liverpool just signed Isak, which I'm not very happy about. But fortunately, they missed out on Gay for whatever technical reason. I think Crystal Palace bought a replacement, and then the replacement deal fell through, and in the end, they just had to cancel the whole thing. So thankfully, Liverpool only got stronger by like just adding the five of some of the best players in the world, right? But at least not Gay, so I'm happy about that. Hoyland left Man United. He's gone to Napoli now. It's a loan with obligation to buy, but the whole obligation to buy thing is like if they get in the Champions League, then they're required to pay it. So really, Hoyland is gone. I feel very bad about that. I actually liked Hoyland as a player. I thought he'd come. He'd eventually turn good for us, and I just thought he actually cared about the club, which is more than you can say for a lot of players. Garnacho. Garnacho's gone to Chelsea, which is definitely a thing. Listen, Garnacho, I was a fan of. The more and more I got to watch him, the more I realized that like this is just not a real mentality type of player, right? And I'm glad he's out of our club. I'm glad he's out. See you later, Garnacho. I don't want to see you again, actually. But we will, right? Because he's going to start playing for Chelsea now. But lots of things happened in terms of the actual games being played this weekend. We had Chelsea beating Fulham. Chelsea looking really strong. Caicedo, their centre back partnership. Just really everyone, and that's with Cole Palmer injured as well, and Delap just got injured too. But I just think, man, with João Pedro, they got really much stronger, and they already had like a few really good pieces. Like I really like Enzo, I really like Caicedo, and I just think they have a really good team. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if they're going to be able to win the whole thing this year. Liverpool's obviously very strong. Arsenal is always going to be up there. But I mean, they're definitely going to be up there. They're going to be contending, especially when Cole Palmer comes back. I know they drew against Crystal Palace, which is not a great result for the first 3 games of the season. But listen, stuff like that happens, and at least they weren't, they were in City, and City lost 2 games out of 3 in this first run of fixtures, which is crazy, right? Yeah, City lost against Brighton this weekend. I was actually watching the game, and for the first like 60 minutes, City, felt completely on top. They had everything in order. I thought the team was looking pretty strong. They were missing a lot of chances. Holland finally took one, and they went up by one, but they were missing a lot of chances. Like they should have been up like 2 or 3-0 at halftime, which they weren't. And then Brighton kind of took the reins of the game, towards the end. Minte had I think that's how you pronounce his name. He had a really good game, the right winger. Really good game. And they were just applying a lot of pressure that City couldn't really deal with. And Rodri wasn't looking like, Ballon d'Or, fucking Rodri that we're kind of used to. And they've made some good signings, obviously, over the summer, but I see an increasing amount of people saying that Pep's kind of lost it. Pep's kind of on his way out the same way Mourinho was, where he's been dominant for so long using his tactics and everything, and he's obviously revolutionized football maybe a couple of times over. Same with Mourinho, but at this point it kind of feels like maybe he doesn't have it anymore. And a lot of people I've seen point towards the Donnarumma signing being like when Guardiola first got to City. He sold Joe Hart, was one of the best goalkeepers in the Prem because he didn't have much of a ground game. He can pass it well, he can do that stuff. And Donnarumma is pretty much that guy, right? Like he's a really good shot stopper, not great with the ball at his feet. So it's a bit weird that that's a signing for City. Obviously, they needed a keeper. I think Donnarumma was probably the best keeper available. As a Man United fan, I would have loved Donnarumma. We got Lemons or whatever his name is, guy from Belgium. Looks good enough, young keeper, unproven in the top 5 leagues in the world. But listen, anything's going to be better than Bindier and Onana because they've just been eating away our games, and there's just no chance of us even making it to the top 8 or top 10 this year unless we sign a replacement for those. So I'm happy with that. But honestly, overall, I'm kind of happy with the whole summer signings for Man United. Right? We could have done better. We could have been Liverpool. Liverpool done really well, if you ask me. Wirtz is still not playing well. 3 games in. As much of a Liverpool fan as I am, I kind of would hope that Wirtz does do well because he's just he's a perfect symbol of that number 10 role that's been increasingly kind of disappearing from football. And last few years, there's been a bit of a resurgence, with Odegaard, with him, with Cole Palmer, and Wirtz was a big part of that. And if Wirtz doesn't really play well in the Prem, and if Wirtz can't really find those same spaces in for Liverpool, then it's kind of a proof that hey, maybe it's not working anymore. Although I do think he's probably going to be he's going to come out good by the end of the season. We managed to beat Burnley. I'm happy about it. Obviously, it was it was a tough game to watch because just like with the City game, but probably even more, we should have been 2-3-0 up by halftime, and there were a couple of Diallo misses and just a couple of bad mistakes, I guess. I'm still not very happy about the way Amorim's kind of fielding this formation. Listen, I've been an Amorim fan ever since he joined, right? Obviously he's lost the Europa League final. Obviously he finished in 15th last year. But I just thought he had a real positive kind of attitude and, a real... He seemed like he cared about the club. He seemed like he really wants to bring this club back to glory. But it's the way he goes about it, though, that it's just a bit weird. You've got Casemiro playing every single game, day in, day out. I keep looking at that the team sheet, and I'm like, Casemiro is still in. Mount is still playing as a striker instead of Šeško. And listen, don't get me wrong, I'm happy with Mount, right? Not a 70 mil player, not a number 7 from Man United, but he definitely is good at link-up play. He runs a lot. He's a versatile player. But we just paid 75 mil for Šeško, right? We've gone through an entire bidding war for this guy, or somewhat of a bidding war for this guy. And I'm really happy we got him, but yeah, 2-3 games into the signing and he's still not starting for us. And it is a bit concerning that. Kobe Mainoo, that's a big talking point at the minute. And it makes a lot of sense why. Listen, Kobe Mainoo is absolutely my favorite Man United player ever since he came into the club. Ever since he came to the first team. He's been absolutely my favorite player, probably in the whole world. And he's a fan favorite. He came through the academy. He's a midfielder that just does really well. And it would just be really sad if Mainoo doesn't get to play for us too much. And it doesn't seem like Amorim likes him too much, and it's really a shame that. Yeah, and listen, with the formation, there's been a lot of talk about Amorim's formation. Does it work? Does it really bring out the best in our players? I'm not sure. Increasingly, I'm not sure about this, honestly. It's Bruno playing as a number 8, I have a real quarrel with because he's a good number 10, right? Bruno is not my favorite player. I do think he's a great player. I think he's been our best player for the past, God knows how long, it's been 6 years, whatever. He's been great. I still think he has a bad attitude. I know he wants to be the captain. I know he is the captain, and he does show some leadership qualities at times. But I think for the most part, that penalty that he missed against, last game, because the referee bumped into him, and it's stuff like that just makes you hate him. It's small things that kind of make you go that just leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and I just don't understand why you would buy 3 separate players that play pretty much exactly where Bruno played, just to play Bruno, who's supposedly Amorim's favorite player, out of position. And then the problem that you kind of face with that is Casemiro can't run too much anymore because he's old and fat. This is well documented. I'm not saying he's been too bad, honestly. His first 3 games, he's been better than I thought he'd be. But still, I think we could probably do better than that. I still have faith in Ugarte. If it were up to me, I would probably start that midfield line with Ugarte and Mainoo. That's what I do. Obviously, we did do some of that last season. It didn't always work out. I think we have a different team now, and I think we should honestly go for that. Umbuemo's looked really good, and Cunha's looked really good as well. Just got injured, which is not great. We're not sure for how long, but hopefully not too long with that. We made a lot of signings. We've sold a lot of players. I mean, Garnacho and Højlund, those are two guys that were kind of like, presented to us as like the next big thing in terms of like our Man United attack, right? Like we all remember the one where that one picture where Garnacho, Højlund, and Mainu were all sitting on the thing and posing for the camera. We thought that would be the future, right? Well, two of those guys are gone, and Mainu was asked to be loaned out, rejected by the club, obviously, but it's not looking great for our future in terms of that. Obviously, we have some great young players. We have Lenny Euro. I love Lenny Euro. I think he's been absolutely insane for us. I actually love De Ligt too. I think De Ligt's been severely underrated by most Premier League fans, honestly. I think what he does kind of goes under the radar, but I think he's been an integral part of not such a good team, right? But it's definitely not been his fault, and I'm actually quite happy having De Ligt and Lenny Euro in that centre-back partnership. And then obviously you need a third one because that's the Amorim system. And the third one has been a bit where we're not completely sure which one that is yet, right? Like I've seen Shaw play in there, I've seen Mazraoui play in there, we've seen Maguire obviously. The one weird thing about Amorim is he takes off one of the centre backs or two of the centre backs in the 85th, 87th minute. I've never seen any other coach do that, and I am still just completely in awe because like it's never seemed like it's had like a positive effect on the team. Yet he keeps doing it. So it's a bit weird that. But listen, for now we got to run with Amorim. We can't just keep on firing coaches. And he just had a massive transfer window where he bought a bunch of his players, a bunch of the players supposedly for his system. So now if we just go on to fire Amorim and just hire a new coach and go through the whole process again, we're never going to get out of the slump. So I say for now, just like run with Amorim at least until Christmas time, right? Let's see where we are. Right now, listen, we've had a better start than City have. It's not a great start. We barely won against Burnley. We drew against Fulham and we lost against Arsenal. Anyway, moving on from Man United, Spurs lost. Spurs looked really good, honestly. The first three games of the season. I didn't actually watch this one, so I know they lost against Bournemouth. I'm not sure why exactly. I didn't watch the game, so I can't really pronounce myself. What I can say though is Thomas Frank looks like an improvement on Angie, and I think Spurs fans are kind of happy with that. They made some good signings this summer, actually. They got Xavi Simons now recently, who's a phenomenal player, right? Like phenomenal player. They made a couple other signings that I actually can't think off the top of my head right now, but let's just say that Spurs had a good transfer window, I think, this summer. Arsenal lost against Liverpool. That's kind of like the big one, I guess. That was the big derby this year. Well, not this year, this weekend. And it was the two teams that hadn't lost for the first two games. So, going head to head, probably, like in my opinion, the top two teams in the league that are probably going to be the top two teams by the end of the year as well. You would just hope that Arteta doesn't lose it, on the final stretch games again, or doesn't just run into being second again and that's it. You would just hope that's the case, right? But you don't know, honestly. They've made some insane signings. They've signed a bunch of players. They've traded a couple. They sold a couple, right? But they've signed some really good players. I think the best one is probably Eze. I really think they needed Eze and Gyökeres, obviously. They needed a striker, and they just needed a replacement for Martinelli because, God, I'm telling you, I'm probably the biggest Martinelli hater out there. And I think it was a Sloboslai. Listen, Sloboslai didn't play badly as a right back. He had a phenomenal strike. I know all about that. But I'm talking as a right back alone in terms of what he did defensively. He wasn't too bad, right? But I feel like if you actually had a real good left winger, then you could have definitely taken advantage of Sloboslai being on the right side there. And there were a couple of highlights where Martinelli was running free with the ball and he couldn't do anything real good with it. And I think in the end that's probably what killed Arsenal. And with Eze now and Gyökeres, I know there's been a couple of injuries. Odegaard just came back last 15 minutes of the game. Saliba got injured in the first 5 minutes of the game, and Saka is still injured, obviously. But yeah, they got Zubimendi, they got Gyökeres, they got Eze, they got Hinkapia too as well at the deadline. So I just think it's still a really strong team. I'm kind of rooting for Arsenal to win it, and I kind of actually think that Arsenal might win it. Listen, I cannot stress this enough, honestly. I really don't want Liverpool to win it. I didn't want them to win it, obviously, last year. I never want them to win it. But this time I really don't want them to win it. Because that would be a two-peat, and that would be the 21st title, and that would just be a no bueno for us Man United fans, and I do not want that. But if I'm going to be completely honest, and I'm going to be judging it as a football fan and not as a Man United fan, Liverpool do look really strong. Liverpool do look quite strong. Salah looks like he's lost a step. Frimpong got injured. Wirtz hasn't really, shown why, he's won the second most expensive player in Prem history now, right? After Isak, so they just made like two crazy signings. Wirtz hasn't really looked like that guy yet. He's still going to keep playing. They're still going to try and find a way to incorporate him kind of into the squad and to bring him up to speed and get the most out of him, right? Because if Wirtz plays well for Liverpool, it's really hard to stop that team, right? Like even with Salah losing a step and whatever else they got going on, if Wirtz really plays well like the way he did for Leverkusen or for the German national team, it's going to be really hard to stop. And then you think about Isak now up front, and then they have Tike as a bench player now, I suppose. It's a really strong team. It's a really strong team. It's a scary team. So we'll just have to see about that. Besides that, not much else, I guess. Inter lost against Udinese. I know most people don't care about that. I actually watched that game at like 2 a.m. last night and tried my best to analyze it as much as I could. And I actually think Inter looks really good in that game. I thought just got unlucky. I'm gonna try my hardest this year to follow as many, maybe the top 3 leagues way more. Last year for sure I was mostly just following the Prem. Now I'm gonna do the Prem for sure, as much as I possibly can. Serie A, because I love the Serie A. I've always loved the Serie A. And a bit of La Liga, a bit of Bundesliga. I don't really care about Ligue 1, I'm not gonna lie. If I see PSG in the Champions League, obviously they're, the current winner. So obviously PSG is very strong, but I don't really care about Ligue 1. I care about Serie A, I care about La Liga, I really care about the Prem. So where does that leave us? Yeah, well, listen, now it's 2 weeks of international break. 2 weeks of international break where hopefully Amorim can... this is quickly turning into just a Man United fan channel, just talking about the same old things, but we're just kind of hoping, I'm hoping that for these 2 weeks, Amorim can really incorporate Šeško into his incredibly rigid, specific system, but, Šeško needs to start. I'm pretty sure City is going to be the first game, which is a huge game, suffice to say, right? Šeško needs to start that game. I would really love Maino to be starting that game, but like I said, Amorim doesn't really fancy him the same way that most Man United fans, and really most football fans do, right? I feel like he's the only one that doesn't see what Maino does. And even he came on at the halftime against Burnley, amidst all the rumors and everything, I guess he had to make a statement. So he put him on at halftime instead of getting him on in the 70th minute or whatever. So he had a full half. There is some valid criticism in regards to how he plays. I feel like when he first burst into the scene, he was he would take the ball and kind of be real breath of fresh air into the team, right? Now he doesn't. It seems a bit slow in terms of how he gets the ball and then does a back pass or just kind of walks around with it a little bit, and that's not what I fell in love with Maino about, right? He seemed like a real revitalizing kind of presence in the midfield. He can take the ball, can carry it forward. I want to see him do more long range passes. He did more of that with against Burnley, so I thought that looked really good, and he was actually quite okay defensively as well. And I think the only way that he's actually going to catch any minutes, any significant starting minutes in this lineup, is if he, kind of really goes and becomes a bit of a stronger player defensively and just pushes that tempo up a little bit for us. I know Amorim's a big tempo guy. We have a very direct kind of style of football, and he doesn't like players taking a lot of touches. But I just think Maino needs to be that player in the midfield that kind of takes the ball and tries to make something happen, tries to raise up the tempo a little bit, tries to maybe get past the player, make a long pass. He needs to run around a lot. He needs to be strong. Against Man City, God knows. That's a team that's lost more than us in these 3 games. It's obviously a stronger team, I think. City, they got much better players and a much better coach, if you ask me. And we'll see how they do. It's just it's the City juju thing that's been going on for the past year, right? Because before that they were winning everything. Now less so. Pep's kind of looking a bit fragile. So we'll have to see about that. But anyway, I haven't figured out the name for the podcast yet. I haven't figured out a name for the channel yet. It's gonna be my solo thing. But it's been nice talking to you guys.